Hello and welcome to my coverage of the 2023 Hellenic Mountain Race, 938k bikepacking race around the mountains of Greece. And I thought, in addition to my usual dot watching updates, I'd do some bike checks. Everyone's interested in bikes, and I just thought it'd be interesting to see what people are running and do a little bit of a sort of comparison to see what's what. So I'll start with the race leader. So this is Adrian Elite bike. He's running a bomb track Kale aluminium. So obviously hardtails seem to be the go-to for this kind of race nowadays. Talking Atlas, Silk Road, now Hellenic, which are kind of all in the same group. Tour Divide, things like French Divide, maybe even things like GB Giro are probably better off on a hardtail. And certainly for an unknown race like this, where no one's really quite sure what the terrain is going to entail, I think a hardtail is a safe bet, especially with all the climbing. So as you can see, front suspension, there's probably 120mm on there, running the DT rims, 2.9er of course, and it looks like Renas Fleecer Ridge tyres, they're 55mm, that's 2-inch. They roll real fast. The conditions have been really wet. Now these tyres, I use them myself. They're really good on dirt roads and stuff like that. Really good all-rounders. Might struggle a little bit in some of the deeper mud. They don't really have a big side knob. But I mean, Adrian's winning the race at the moment, so obviously not too much of an issue there. If you've not seen my updates, I'll put the links below. You can go back and see how the race is going down. As you can see, I think Adrian's is running you can see the hose from his bladder. So obviously he's got his drinks bladder in his frame bag. That's really good for keeping the weight central. A lot of riders do that on mountain bikes. And then he can probably put food in there. I'd imagine food and layers and a minimal sleeping kit in the back here. No dropper post, probably not really required for this kind of races. It's mainly kind of dirt road descents. And a feed bag. Top tube bag, look like Revelate ones, Apogee rear pack, and Ergon grips. And also you can see the little kind of inner grips. I can't remember the company, but basically you can get like inner bar grips, like kind of bar ends, old-fashioned bar ends, but they go inside the levers, so you get that kind of slightly more tucked position. So that's Adrian's bike. The next one to look at, Marin de Saint-Exupéry. He's had a bit of a disaster in the race. Unfortunately, he cut his tyres on the first day and has had to stop for like 36 hours to find a new tyre. His pump also broke. Can't see what brand the pump is there. Maybe best to avoid for future if we find out. But yeah, the tyres, Vittorio Terrano, I spoke to him before the event. He said he was going to run basically really, really fast tyres. I guess it's a risk. And given the conditions, it probably wasn't one that paid off. And given the fact he's cut the tyre, maybe that wasn't the best choice. But, you know, hindsight is golden. And now he knows. The frame, it's Fairlight's Holt steel hardtail, 100mm fork, I believe. Well, you can run 120, but I'd imagine he's running the lighter SID, the 100mm. Wheels, these are custom wheels from Hunt. He's running the front dynamo. Basically, they kind of... so I actually work for Hunt at the moment. I look after the bikepacking athletes such as Marin and Sofian and all the others. And these are ones we get built specially. So they're the 25 carbon gravel race rim laced up onto mountain bike hubs. You don't really need like a super wide mountain bike rim because a lot of the races are using things like the Renas tyres, like in these Terranos, not much more than 2 inches, so you don't need that super wide rim. So we basically lace them up these wheels to save some weight. And on an event like Hellenic, it's like 29,000 meters of climbing. That weight makes a difference. Marin did tell me that this was shot in Switzerland, where he lives, before he went to the race, hence the sunshine. It's been raining a lot in the race. Again, check out the coverage if you've not seen what's going down there. So here he's packed super light, like barely anything on there. But he did tell me that he did pack a lot more layers. So he's sponsored by Albion. They do their Zoa rain jackets and trousers, so he packed all of that stuff. But it looks like, again, a very minimal sleeping setup. So yeah, see how he got on there. The 3 bottles, nice little thing that Marin does, he puts his spares on the outside so you can grab them easily. So he's got a bottle of squirt lube, that's a waxy chain lube. That's kind of what I use, although probably wouldn't have used it in the conditions here in Greece because it doesn't stay that long, but it does keep the chain really clean, which is very useful. Pump on the side there. Looks like he's got his like Dyna plugs or similar on the side there. They're the tubeless plugs for repairing tubeless tyres. And again, it's like it's on is it sine wave? Is it reactor? I think the light is, and the little little one on the back there. Mini Apogura packs. I think it's supported by Apogura. And again, you can see the ergon grips on there. Those bar ends are a giveaway. A lot of people use ergon. So yeah, that is Marin's setup. The next one I've got is actually from Leddi. She's about 4th in the women's field at the moment. So this is a bike she actually used for the Rhino Run over in South Africa and Namibia last November, which she completed, which is an amazing ride. So she's not super tall, so it's a challenge for riders. You know, if you're like 6'3" like me, guys like Marin, you've got all that frame space, you get loads of stuff in there. But when you're smaller, you either kind of have a bottle or you have a frame pack. So you can see here that she's had to look for different ideas to fit stuff on. So she's on the Curve. I think that's the Kevin. Looks like she's running 650B wheels. Again, they look like Curve wheels. Doesn't look like a Dynamo. But yeah, not many people running gravel bikes. She's gone for the aero bars. Personally, I probably wouldn't for this race because there's so much climbing, so I don't think there's going to be really any opportunity that you're going to want them. So I'd rather save the weight. But yeah, small frame pack, flippy flappy top tube pack, and a saddle pack. I mean, these saddle packs look bigger on smaller bikes, but it's not that big a pack, I don't think. And it looks like all her sleeping stuff just bundled up and rolled on the front there. Can't quite see what she's using to hold it, and then a 1x setup on there, and quite a nice little touch. She's put her feed packs just on the fork legs so she doesn't get all the stuff in the way of the bars and the turning. So that's a really cool little idea. I'd never thought of that before. So yeah, good one to think of. And I'd imagine she's running a pack. Basically, any rider with a single bottle cage, I would have thought, is run a hydration pack as well, because water is not something you really want to run out of. Another really cool bike, Bagoli Levente, is a really cool dude. Again, he was doing the run last year. He's decided he wanted to promote cargo bikes, you know, so he decided to do the Hellenic Mountain Race on one. He has, however, scratched. Basically, it turns out cargo bikes can't cope super well with wet conditions. But he was saying he put a 2.9 wheel in the back with a mountain bike tyre on there and a knobbly tyre on the front there. But I think there's just a lot of weight, and there's a lot of weight and a lot of force descending in the wet on a very small tyre, and you just don't have the control. I think he crashed a few times and kept puncturing. So yeah, it just didn't work out. Had it been dry, it might well have been a viable solution. But I think it's really cool anyway, and good on him for giving it a crack. And also, you don't need bikepacking bags when you've got a cargo bike. You just strap everything on the front. Super easy. Loads of space for food. So, you know, it's a pretty good solution for certain events, I would have thought. The other two bikes I've picked out, there's loads more, but I've just picked a few interesting ones. This one, I mean, it's a pretty sound setup for pretty much any of these kind of more off-road ultras now. Super lightweight, carbon full suspension bike. This is a Specialized Epic, so it automatically locks out. It's got the little brain thing. You can't see it behind the cassette, but basically it senses when you're on tarmac and it locks out the shock. You can see the little kind of hose that goes up to it. But then when you get on the bumps, it activates it. So you've kind of got a hardtail when you need a hardtail and full sus when you need full sus. And I think for an event like this, when there's a lot of off-road, just having that extra cushion in the rear end will save you energy in the long run. However, it does make it much more difficult to put stuff on the frame. So that's why a lot of the fast guys do tend to stick with hardtails. And if we have a look, he's got this inverted fork. I'm not quite sure the brand of that, but clamps. I think there's a tail fin bottle clamps on the fork. So he's obviously lost the space in the frame with his frame pack. Again, this is a custom tailfin R&D division one. So to make up for it, he's put the clamps on his fork so he can carry 2 bottles. It's probably 850ml bottles there. He's got the down tube clip-on pack. I imagine that's tools and stuff, and a custom long tailfin top pack, and the tailfin aero pack, which actually does work with full suspension frames, which is something not a lot of people know. These are really good. I use them myself. I am supported by Tailfin, so I'm slightly biased, but you can just get loads of stuff in there, which is really useful. He's gone for the aero bars. Again, I probably wouldn't bother for this race. Probably a bit more extra weight for no real gain. However, he's got the little inset bars here as well, which is kind of useful. And on to the final bike that I picked that looked kind of interesting. This is Martin's. You may know him as Fernweh from YouTube and the internet, but I thought this was a cool bike. I think it's the Focus. I think it's called the Atlas. Not 100%, but I think it's one of these basically breeds of modern gravel bikes where you can get 50 mil tires in. And he's also gone for the Fox. It's like the gravel suspension fork. I think it's about 30 or 40 mil travel. To be honest, it's probably not the right bike for the Hellenic. It's probably too much climbing, and I prefer like the bar position of a mountain bike and be more upright. And then you're having wider arms, getting your chest open. But it's really cool nonetheless. He's got the must be SRAM Eagle super wide range cassette on there. I imagine it's Axis. Looks all wireless. I can't quite make out the tyres. I think they might be Panaracer tyres. I'll keep my opinion to myself on those. Not a huge fan of the grip levels they offer or the rolling resistance. Again, it's gone for the aero bars. I probably wouldn't bother, but I know he's been riding this bike a lot in the past few weeks, so that's probably the kind of setup he'd been used to. Interesting, he's got the Canyon. Well, actually, it was originally designed by Ergon, but I think Canyon have brought the kind of rights to use it. It's like a carbon leaf flexing seat post, just to take the edge off. Again, if you're not running a full suspension, then you can run things like that. There's also the Redshift suspension seat post, which I've run myself, and it really does just take the edge off, especially on bumpy tracks when you're trying to pedal. You know, these guys are pedaling for 4 or 5 days, maybe even more for the vast majority of the field. So just saving that energy where you can, same as a fork, really goes a long way. Packing wise, again, he's a tailfin rider, so tailfin frame bag, these are all custom. Tailfin top tube bag, these are actually available to buy now, and the tailfin aero pack. Again, it's not like the tallest guy, so the sort of the frame space is kind of restricted a little bit, but you do get the you know, with the aero pack, you get loads of space in there. So yeah, so that is that bike. So yeah, so that is pretty much. So yeah, that's my quick roundup of some of the bikes that have been used in the Hellenic Mountain Race. Let me know if you like this. If you want to see more, give me a shout, and I'll dig around and find some more bikes to run through. Don't forget to like and subscribe if you like this kind of content, and I'll be producing more daily updates over the next few days. So thanks for watching.